The Karen Nielsen Guild Mortgage Team will help you find the loan to fit your life. Guild Mortgage offers hundreds of loan products for a wide variety of borrowers, including first-time home buyers, military families, and rural residents. Guild Mortgage also offers many state, county, and city housing programs that provide down payment assistance. At Guild, they work hard to deliver what matters most to you with a loan that fits your life. Call 435-294-2480 or Google Karen at Guild Mortgage. NMLS 3274 and 80226, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. President Biden appears to be keeping a campaign promise that his time in office would be boring, but there are drawbacks to that style. We'll have analysis. Also, the number of workers who've made the switch from a blue-collar hourly job to a tech job that has better pay and scheduling. Here's some examples. And the return of the dress shirt at work. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news, weather, and sports.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without a homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on this cloudy Saturday morning. And if you think this is bad, just wait till the first of next week when they're saying we could see some snow.
Snow in the forecast.
Yeah, you just never know.
Normal for Cache Valley.
Like.
Yep, normal for Cache Valley. So we have single digits, then we're up into like the 70s, and then we're back into like teens, and then we're back into the high 60s, and then we get snow. So
just never changes. But we do need the moisture, and we will take that moisture any way we can get it right now.
Yeah, cooler temperatures, little storm systems rolling through here every now and then. Doesn't hurt for our water situation, and keeps things slowed down. So I've been kind of waiting for the trees to start popping a lot of blossoms out, and we're just kind of creeping along. Yeah. So it's just not quite there, but we're getting really close. So that means there's a lot of different things that we need to do out in the gardens and out in our yards. If there's blossoms popping out on the trees, we got to watch out for those fruit trees and get a little bit of work done.
Yeah. So talking about blossoms, my family and I had a chance. We were down in Salt Lake last weekend.
Gorgeous.
The Capitol.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I've never seen blossom. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
It was picturesque.
Yeah, so pretty. All the red buds were in bloom. All the flowering pear, all the flowering crabs were coming into bloom. So I was down there earlier in the week as well too, and it's just beautiful. And the great thing is we had a lot of moisture through the fall and winter, and so that really, really helps with the trees. We had a hard, hot, dry summer last year. Everybody was thinking, oh, it's going to be really hard on my plants. Well, it was. But then in October, we got all that moisture. I mean, we got 4 or 5 inches of rain just in October, and that really saturated the soil up. And so then those trees and shrubs could pick up that moisture all winter. Yeah, and then we're seeing the results. We're seeing the benefits of that this spring as the trees are coming out, and they look really, really, really good.
Well, I was telling my daughters, I said, see, we're in Salt Lake, so we're about 3 weeks ahead. This is what we're going to be like in about a month.
Yeah.
So
even less, because it seems like we get just a little bit of warm weather, and it looks like our buds are all just like I was outside doing some tree implants yesterday. So I was out teaching one of our crews how to do tree implants. So I've got a pear tree, and my mom's got a pear tree and an apple, and I've got a maple tree that kind of show a lot of iron deficiency. Just kind of been struggling a little bit the last couple of years. So we're out there doing some implants with the tree treats that are made here in Logan by Bicor, and a great product. And I was drilling holes, and I was looking at my pear trees, and they're just ready to crack open. I mean, the buds are really swelling and opening up,
so
and so they're really close. So maybe we're only about 10 days behind.
Okay.
2 weeks would be normal. I
Coming.
think. Yeah, 2 weeks is normal for Salt Lake between them and us, but I think things are moving along a little bit faster. So we'll see.
And just
We'll see what
talking with a
happens.
lot of people this past week, it sounds like many of us today are going to be focusing on trying to get our lawns in better shape as we're heading into the spring months, and we're trying to get our gardens prepped. And so this is a great time to head into Anderson Seed and Garden and get those supplies, get you ready to go.
It is. We've got bare root sales still going on, so we've got bare root fruit trees still. We have raspberries, we have strawberries, we have asparagus, potatoes. Brand new batch of onion plants came in just 2 days ago, so they're nice and fresh, and I got just a little bit of everything, and all the small fruits as well too. Blueberries and blackberries and currants and gooseberries and grapes are all here as well too. So everything's here, ready to go. Weather's perfect for transplanting. Boy, if you get some stuff planted this weekend, have it rain or snow on top of it next week, that would be absolutely perfect. Yeah. And I got my peas and my spinach and my lettuce planted. So, yeah. Been working on that for a couple of weeks. Got the garden tilled, and so we got those planted, and hopefully they'll be coming up here pretty soon. I gotta water those a little bit tonight. It was pretty warm yesterday, so things dried out a little bit, but should be perfect to get those guys to pop up and have them up in no time. But I walked out into the garden, and there was one section where I had a whole bunch of burr buttercup last year. The goat's head. The weeds that drop seeds that have spikes on them that go right through your flip flops. And so I had tilled that whole area, and then we had our helper come and till the whole garden with his big tractor, and so I kind of walked out in that area. That's kind of where I planted some of the peas. Got back in the house, and I could hear click 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 on my shoes when I was walking in on the tile, and I was like, I wonder if I got like burr buttercups all over. And I checked, and sure enough, I had about 15 or 20 just stuck in the bottom of my shoes, even after tilling that up. So I'm going to have to really get serious with the weed control over there this spring. So darn it.
And those things, they are so hardy.
They are not very nice either. They're just not very nice. Primroses, we've got gorgeous flowers in stock right now between the pansies and primroses, but this weekend we're doing a special on the primroses, half price. So they're usually $4.99 for a 4-inch primrose. We've got them on sale for half price right now, so we can find some homes for them, get them outside, get them planted so you can get some color. We got all the pansies planted in the planters on Center Street, but primrose, they can handle the cold, the snow, whatever Mother Nature throws at them. And then this week, we just got in a whole bunch of flowering trees, shade trees, and our first shipment of shrubs as well, too. We've got more coming next week. So we're starting to load the nursery section up. So at Anderson's, things are starting to get exciting. I even have tomatoes and peppers in the greenhouse, which is
tomatoes already
a little early, but I got people asking for them. So
with a wall of water,
you
could easily do it.
You'd be just fine. As long as you stay above 20 degrees with a wall of water or an aquadome, you would be in great shape. But vegetables are starting to roll in. So all the cold crops, I've got broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, kale. There's peas. There's lettuce. There's spinach out there in transplants. If you want to transplant instead of planting from seed, that would work great. In fact, I might take some broccoli home this weekend too. Yeah, so not too bad. Not too bad. So a lot of things we can talk about, but we have an amazing guest on the show today. So Clayton Smith with Monterey is joining us on the phone, and he's here to help us answer some questions and hopefully talk about some things that are happening in our area right now that we can kind of watch out for and take care of. And if you'd like to join our conversation, phone numbers are 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. Clayton, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's always wonderful to have you on the show. And, of course, things are hopping here in Cache Valley. As you know, you were here a couple of weeks ago, and beautiful. The valley is just beautiful. We got snow-capped mountains. We got green starting to show up, and we got flowers popping out on the trees. So just a beautiful time to be in Cache Valley. So it was.
No, I love it out there. Yeah. It was wonderful visiting you and seeing everything that was happening.
Yeah. It was nice to have you come visit us, and of course we got to talk about some great products. But to start the show off, I was out doing tree implants yesterday with the tree treats, which is a wonderful product that Monterey offers since you've partnered with Bicor now. So.
Yeah, we did, and it was a great partnership with them. And they're just up the road from you, and I can't believe the family that we have with them. It's just beautiful working with them.
Yeah, they're great. And tree treats are so effective, and we've been selling them for years and years, but it's nice to see Monterey pick those up and then offer them nationally across the country, because they're such an effective product when it comes to micronutrients, especially iron and zinc for the trees that are really struggling with that, plus a little bit of nitrogen in there to get them growing as well, too.
Yeah, and people don't realize secondaries and micros are just as important as the majors, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. They make the other elements work, and that's why it's so important to have those micro and secondaries.
Yeah. So my mom's got a pear tree really close to her garden that just kind of shows iron deficiency every year, and then I've got a flowering pear just off the back part of my house that's kind of the same way. And if I don't use the tree treats on those about every other year, they just really start to struggle and have some problems. So, last year we were seeing some chlorosis in those trees with the dark green veins running through the leaves. And so yesterday I had my crew out, and they'd never done implants before. So I had my cordless drill, and I had my 3/8 inch drill bit, and I had my pruning sealer as basically some grafting wax, and the tree treats, and I showed them exactly how to do that. So we were drilling little small holes into the trees, placing those implants in just at the right depth, covering them up with a little pruning sealer, and boom, away we go. As soon as the trees really leaf out, boy, we'll see some nice new growth, and shouldn't see any iron deficiency on those trees at all this year. So simple and easy to do.
Yeah, and iron is obviously one of the three secondaries, and what I call the Christmas tree effect. So you see the green veins, you see the Christmas tree in the leaf.
Yes.
And then everything else is yellow and whatnot. And I call them the choo-choo train of photosynthesis with magnesium. So they make the other elements work.
Right.
They pull the other elements around to be photosynthesized.
Very cool. Yeah, we've been treating trees for years with the tree treats, and we found that early in the spring is the best time, but we've even been able to do it, partway through the summer as well too, for trees that are really struggling and not had too much problem. If you end up putting too many implants in, though, you can definitely burn the leaves. We've noticed that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, we've noticed that for sure, but it's been so effective, especially for large trees. My pear tree that's in my backyard just off my house, it's really close to our deck, and there's a hardscape there as well too. So it's really hard to access the root system of that tree. If we were to put some chelated iron on the ground or some fertilizer there for the tree, it's really hard to access that root system because of the hardscape, because of the deck. It's hard to really apply a product to those trees, but with the tree treats, it makes it so simple and easy because we're delivering the nutrient right directly into the circulatory system of the tree.
Right into the xylem, takes it right up right then.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of flow going on the trees right now. I've had quite a few customers send in photos of their trees, and since we had a really big snowstorm in October before the leaves came off the trees, we had a lot of damage. We had a lot of broken branches, a lot of branches that had to be removed, and I'm seeing a lot of photos from people where their birch trees and their maples are just bleeding like crazy this spring out of those fresh cuts that were made late last fall while we were trimming those trees up. So there's a lot of open wounds where sap is flowing. So that means things are happening with our trees here. So for sure.
Oh, we love it. Just beautiful.
So pretty. If you'd like to join our conversation, I've got Clayton Smith here from Monterey. We're talking tree treats. We're going to be talking about disease control. We're going to be talking about weed control, fire blight, dormant spray, all kinds of different things that Monterey has to offer that we carry at Anderson Seed and Garden. If you'd like to join our conversation, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. We've got some phone lines open, and you're welcome to join us here on the Garden Guide. So, any new exciting things coming down the pipeline, Clayton, that we should be aware of? I mean, with the pandemic, it seems like all of the garden products distribution and garden manufacturers, they've kind of focused on their core products, but we're starting to see a few new products coming into the market. Anything fun and exciting that we should know about?
we do. We have 3 new items coming down the pike we've been working on for last year. It takes a while because we have to go through registration
Right.
and all this other stuff. We have BTI, Bacillus, the Bacillus thuringiensis, the Israeli thing, to get rid of fungus gnats.
Oh,
but
very
it's
nice.
going to be in a whole different format. It's going to be salted. So you can put it in the soil and get rid of the fungus gnats. That's going to come down the pipe. And 2 other ones
Very
I
nice.
can't talk about yet
Yeah.
because I signed a stack of papers in front of a lawyer.
Oh, darn it.
But I know we're close. Once we get those through registration, they would be wonderful. One's the PGR, or plant growth regulator. This will be new to the market.
Cool.
Another one's going to be another organic pest.
Very good.
Pesticide.
Yeah, and so that fungus gnat control, that's all natural. You know, the Bacillus thuringiensis, what a great product to be able to control those fungus gnats as the larvae hatch out. It's going to control those. Very, very safe to use inside. So.
Yeah, nobody had it in a salted form, which is important so we can get right into the soil. So we're very excited about this one.
Nice. No damage to the plants, no effect to the soil,
No.
but it's just going to take care of those fungus gnats as they hatch out. And I've actually had probably 8 people in the store this week with that very same problem. So.
Great. Yeah, like I said, it'll be hopefully out within a couple months.
Yeah. Very good, very good. It's always fun to see some new products coming, and if our listeners have never used a plant growth regulator, there's some really great ones out there that can really help it control the size of your plants, keep them from growing too fast. Turf, there's a lot of great options out there. So
and Florel.
Yeah,
that's the PGR, plant growth regulator. And we use that all the time out in your area.
Absolutely. In fact, with the blossoms coming out here pretty soon, that's probably a product that we need to talk about for sure. If you've got unwanted fruit coming on your crab apples or maples or a lot of other trees, you can hit those while they're in bloom. And with the Florel, we can control that fruit before it sets. And, actually, it will set, but it'll drop all that fruit off. And so you don't have to clean it up later. So. What a great product.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are there any trees that it doesn't work very well on? Because it does work really well on most of the crab apples. Works great on maples. We've had really good luck with it on the lindens. So if you're gathering up seeds or fruit from those trees, every single year, we can stop those seeds from forming with a spray or 2 of the Florel at the right time. But are there some trees that probably it's just not going to work on very well?
Yeah, the carob trees or the carob family, it takes a little bit more. So most of the trees take about 1.5 ounces per gallon. With carob, we have to go about 3 ounces. We have to double it. That's the only thing we have to worry about. And what's funny is, on the bromeliad family, the pineapple and the silver vase plant, it actually makes flowers, which is kind of the reverse of what we've been thinking.
Right.
And it's kind of strange. PGRs don't like, or plant growth regulators don't like to follow rules. And when I was in college, I took all of them, all the 8 different ones, my partner and I. We threw them in plants. We in my lab, we had roots growing out of leaves, and all. My teacher thought it was phenomenal. And he said, don't ever do this again, though. So I got an A and an F at the same time. It was, but he thought it was great.
An A and an F at the same time. That's awesome. Yeah. We have some really old crab apples throughout Logan and Cache Valley that are gorgeous. They bloom like crazy, and they just set so much fruit. And we've had a lot of customers that have come in and been able to treat those trees and prevent that fruit from setting and dropping all over the place in the fall. So it really, really does help. But timing is critical. What's your best recommendation on timing on when to hit those trees?
Just when it comes out in bud and start to open up and flower. That's the best time. You may have to hit it a couple different times. So it mimics the plant. The plant thinks it's been pollinated, and so it drops its flowers and blooms. There's a little layer called an abscission ring right below the bud, and that swells up and drops the flower and buds. And that's when we want to get. You may have to do a couple different sprayings.
Yeah, usually we recommend 2, like right when it first opens up,
right.
and it really hits full bloom, and then again about 5 to 7 days later, because it seems like the trees will be in bloom for about 10 days, 2 weeks, and there's more blossoms that form and drop off, or actually open up after those first ones have opened up and already dropped off.
Right, and it's the old adage, one bad apple ruins the barrel. That one bad apple prematurely ripen and gives off ethylene gas. It causes the whole barrel to ripen. That's what phloral does. It gives off ethylene gas that makes the plant think it's been pollinated and drops.
And drops off. Very, very cool. Very cool. If you'd like to join our conversation, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. So, Will, you've been like quiet over there. Usually you're like jumping right in.
And in fact, Clayton, we were actually just looking at some of the products that Monterey has to offer. And one of the things that we see a lot, especially in and around here in the bottom of the valley of Cache Valley, is a lot of iron deficiency. Yeah. And what type of products do Monterey have to offer for someone like myself who, your garden starts out, it's green, it's looking good, and then a couple of weeks later you start to see that iron deficiency start to creep in and plants start turning yellow, and then it feels like you're in a constant battle the rest of the growing season.
Yeah, we have a couple ones. We, of course, like Mark said, we bought Bicor, which has been just a great family to us. We got their iron products with us, and we also have Dr. Iron that we use quite a lot, which is 55% sulfur and 22% iron. We also have a Star, which is a 6% iron, also chelated iron, so it doesn't get locked up in alkaline soils too.
The EDDHA. So
those are a big one.
Yep. So we carry the Dr. Iron, we carry the EDDHA, and the combo chelate. I had somebody in yesterday, and they were trying to green up some evergreens, and it was difficult for her to get the EDDHA into those evergreens, and they're so dense. She was afraid if she did a granule, like the Dr. Iron, that it would sit on top of the evergreens and not get down into the soil, and it might cause some damage. So we went with the combo chelate that she could mix up in a watering can and go out there and water them and allow it to absorb it in through the needles, but also up through the root system at the same time. So there's really some great options depending on where your plants are, what kind of plants they are, how deficient they are, and your soil type as well too, and we can help really control some of those iron deficiency issues. So yeah, really great products.
Like I said, iron's part of the secondaries, and they are so important to make the other elements work.
Yeah, for sure. We got a caller.
Yes, Lisa's joining us on the line from Hiram. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I planted a flowering tree about 8 or 10 years ago. And we bought all the fertilizer and the iron and all that stuff and watered it extra when we were supposed to. And the tree itself is like dead. It never grew an inch after we planted it. And, we've just been thinking for the last couple of years we would pull it out, but it's getting branches out of the bottom.
Okay.
Now, and so I don't know if we should still just pull it out or if we should cut off the main trunk that's dead.
Do you know what kind of tree it is?
No. Okay. I used to remember what kind of a tree. It has little pink flowers in the spring.
Yeah.
But now I don't know what it is.
It's probably died back to where the root system is, and that root system could be different from the rest of the tree. It's probably grafted.
Okay.
It's probably grafted, and so those suckers coming up, root system's still alive, but the top has died back for whatever reason that might be. And so I would take it out and put a new tree in, because what's coming up from the ground is probably going to be a completely different tree. than the one that you planted. And now is a great time to plant. And we've got some really great planting instructions that will help you be successful. There's always problems that can arise, but the more we do to prep that hole and get it ready for the tree, the more successful we can be. Maybe we can hit a home run this time. So.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much for calling, Lisa. Have a wonderful weekend.
Okay, you too.
All right, we'll see you. Bye-bye.
And that opens up the phone lines. We've got our break coming up here at the bottom of the hour, but we can take a lot more calls at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. And, we were talking just a moment ago about tree treats, and
yes,
that's one of the things that we found. We planted 2 apple trees, and this was probably 15 years ago when we first moved into another home, and those trees just didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And I remember about 5 years later, I told my wife, I said, you know what? I think we wasted our time. Why don't we just pull them up and let's put something else in? And I remember asking you about this, and you said, well, have you fertilized them at all? And I was like, what?
What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. And so that year, we started fertilizing them. And they exploded.
Yeah, they took off.
And so sometimes I think for myself, I just think, well, I put it in the ground and everything's just supposed to take off. And,
yeah.
And even like our caller was saying, sometimes you have to really help coax them along with some fertilizer and some treats and things like that. And then even then, sometimes Mother Nature still has another idea.
They don't want to go. We found, especially with our soils here in Cache Valley, they can be really heavy and it can really trap a lot of water. And so when you dig your holes, you want to make sure and get them extra wide so that the trees don't stand in water, like right at the bottom of the hole. And if you're watering a lot, maybe even 3 times a week, that water could just be puddling down in the bottom of the hole and kind of suffocate the roots on your tree. So it's critical that we dig our holes properly, we dig them extra wide so we can give some good drainage to those trees, and then fertilize them, just like you've suggested, Will. A little bit of fertilizer to encourage some growth. A lot of times we think our soil is full of nutrition and full of nutrient for our trees, and over time, a lot of those plants around and weeds, they can use up all that nutrition, and they'll kind of starve a little bit. We don't want that. We don't want them to starve. So,
well, let's go back out to the phone lines. We have Richard joining us on the line from South Weber. Richard, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. So my grass last year had problems like everyone else's, but I had grubs in my lawn and didn't realize it, and I lost some big chunks in my front yard.
Right.
And some in the backyard. So we were over in Logan, and I stopped by and bought some Mark's Mix, and it was about August, and put it down and watered it well and kept it watered, and I never saw anything come up. But I'm wondering what, at this point, we should do. We've got some pretty substantial bare patches.
Yes.
So I'm wondering what we should do and can do at this point.
Yep. So now's a really good time to plant grass. Leaves are starting to pop out on the trees. We're starting to see blossoms on the trees. That means the soil's warm enough that seed's going to germinate. And since the air temperatures are a little bit cooler, we don't have to water as much to get that grass to germinate and come up. So what I do to prep that area that's been damaged is maybe even bring just a tiny bit of topsoil in just to kind of groom over that area. If it's kind of lumpy or uneven, that would be really helpful. But we want to rough that soil up. Get out there and rake it and rough that soil up so the seed has somewhere to touch, where it's going to touch that soil. That's where it's going to germinate. And then the Mark's Mix would be excellent. It's very resistant to a lot of insects. In fact, the perennial rye that's in there, the grubs and billbugs do not like to eat it. They won't eat it. And so that's a great one to put into that particular location. Either that mix or like our Colorado Premium would be great too. It's a bluegrass ryegrass blend. It's going to resist diseases. It's going to resist insects a lot better than, say, a straight Kentucky bluegrass lawn. And watering, I would say probably once, maybe twice a day right now for 5 minutes, just to keep a little bit of moisture out there. And if you do the Mark's Mix, it'll probably germinate in about 2 weeks. If you do a Kentucky bluegrass, it might take 3 for it to come up. It's going to be a little bit slower this time of year. But if we plant in the middle of summer, it'll come up a lot faster, but you need grass sooner. So I'd get out there and get it planted right away. For a
Well, I do have
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a complicating factor. I've already put down my pre-emergent for this year.
Yes, that's going to stop that seed from coming up. So usually about 8 weeks from when you apply your pre-emergent, you could go ahead and plant grass seed. And so you could do sod. Most of the pre-emergents won't bother the sod very much, but they can damage the root system just a little bit. But 8 weeks, and you will be able to plant grass. And if the soil's warmer, it's going to come up even faster. You'll just have to water a little bit more frequently. So when I did a section of my lawn 2 years ago, we watered for 5 minutes 3 times a day in the middle of July when it was 95 degrees, and that grass was up in 5 days. And it just came up super, super quick. But for a preventative for your insects, so you don't have that damage again this year, I would plan on doing a preventative insecticide about Mother's Day to Memorial Day, and then do a second one about between the 4th of July and the 24th of July, and they'll overlap a little bit. You'll get really good coverage through the middle of summer when those insects are out doing a lot of damage. So those will be your prime times for doing a preventative.
Okay, great.
All
Thanks
right.
for your help.
You are so welcome, Richard. Hey, thanks for calling in this morning. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks. All right, we are at the bottom of the show. We probably will take a little break and be right back. But if you want to call in and join us here on the show, 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. You've been over there answering phone calls.
We
like
do.
crazy.
We've got Ron and Neil hanging on the
Awesome.
line, and so we're going to take this quick bottom of the hour break, and then we'll be right back, and we can take more calls. 753-5868, 753-KVNU for the Garden Guide. More coming up next. I'm Will Feelwright with your KVNU News Update. It's brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. Utah's Lieutenant Governor called out Delta Airlines Thursday night over a canceled flight in New York that she said left her friend stranded in a serious situation and unable to return to Utah. Now, the tweet said, quote, "Hey, Delta, please get your act together and address your personnel problems. Your pilots just walked off of a plane from JFK to Salt Lake City, stranding my friend who needs to get home as soon as possible." Now, Henderson declined to comment any further about the tweet, but Delta has responded in a message saying, quote, "When Delta must cancel a flight, it is after all other options are exhausted. Significant disruptive weather and air traffic control delays in New York City on Thursday unfortunately resulted in the flight crew's legal duty time expiring before departure." Now, the spokesperson for Delta went on to say that they have engaged with Lieutenant Governor and to offer additional support as needed. In other news, Idaho environmental officials are proposing a $1 million fine as part of a settlement agreement with Idaho Power involving pollution permits at 15 of the public utilities' hydroelectric facilities in southern Idaho. The Idaho Department of Environmental Quality announced the proposed agreement earlier this week and is now seeking public comment. The utility had permits from the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency for all of the facilities for decades until the federal agency determined that they weren't needed back in the 1990s. Well, looking at increasing clouds with cooler weather through this weekend, and yeah, we still have a chance that we might see some snow. That's going to start Monday and into Tuesday. I'm Will Feelwright for KVNU News.
From ABC Sports. Hi, everybody. I'm Todd Ent. While some of the biggest names in golf missed the cut at the Masters, Tiger Woods wasn't one of them. Tiger tells ESPN the next 2 days could be interesting.
You've seen guys do it with a chance going in the back nine. If you're within, 5 or 6 going to the back nine, anything can happen.
Woods ended up 1 over par heading into the weekend. Scotty Scheffler's star is rising. He holds a 5-shot lead heading into moving day. The Nationals-Mets game in D.C. went dark for 14 minutes due to Washington Stadium lights, but once they were fired up, so were the teams. Maybe a bit too much.
Slings it home, look out, and Lindor's hitting the batting helmet. Down he goes. The helmet goes flying away.
The call on WJFK just a day after Mets first baseman Pete Alonso was left bleeding on a high and tight pitch. Francisco Lindor was lying face down in the batter's box after a pitch to the head. Nationals pitcher Steve Cishek was ejected. The Mets went on to beat the Nationals 7-3. This is ABC.
You want to feel important.
You want to be part of something bigger, something that matters and can help change things.
You want to feel like you belong.
We know. We felt that way too. And that's why we did something about it.
We aren't just Army National Guard soldiers. We are normal people just like you.
But our part-time service in the Army National Guard means we get to be more.
When our communities are in need, we get the chance to stand up and do something about it.
We get to serve in our own region and help the people we call neighbors.
From the mountains of Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, and Utah.
The deserts of Arizona and Nevada. The Pacific coasts of Washington, Oregon, and California.
To the wilderness of Alaska and islands of Hawaii and Guam.
We are here for our hometowns.
And together, we can make a difference.
Take on your legacy. Visit NationalGuard.com to find out more.
Sponsored by the Utah Army National Guard. Aired by the Utah Broadcasters Association and this station.
Have you pulled your spring sheets out of storage, and do they smell stale and need freshening up? How about your blankets and your quilts? Are things dingy from winter use? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It takes no time at all to freshen everything up with their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, and it costs a lot less than the dry cleaners, and free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, too. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
The expert with a green thumb. It's the Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the show, 8:40 on this cloudy Saturday morning. We did hit 71 yesterday.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
A beautiful day. We won't be back in the 70s, though, for another 6 or 7 days, though, it
At
looks
least
like.
another week, yeah. But those cool temperatures will be great, and we've got a storm coming, so it's a perfect time to get out and get some things planted in the garden this weekend before the weather changes for sure. And, early crops, peas, spinach, lettuce, radishes, onions, cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, kale, those can all go in. I've got some gardeners with warmer soils that are starting to do carrots and beets and potatoes. And, we just got a great selection of onions came in, leeks. I've got shallots as well, too, so those can all be planted right now. And, of course, flowers. So pansies can go out. We've got some great hardy perennials that can be planted right now as well, too. And our primrose, they're on sale for half price this weekend. So primroses are usually $4.99. We've got them for half price, so you can get them for $2.49 if you mention you listen to the radio show this morning. So.
And if you're just joining us this morning, we have a special guest. Clayton Smith from Monterey Products is joining us from somewhere where it's even warmer than here.
Yeah.
And we're a little envious of that. Clayton, welcome to the show, and let's get right back to the phone lines. We have Ron, who's been holding on the line from Clifton. Ron, welcome to the show.
Thanks. I'm calling mostly about the complete disease control product from Monterey. I'd like a general review as if I was new to the product, but I'm also wondering what the shelf life is like, whether it is good from year to year if it sits in my room temperature storage.
Oh, this is one of my favorite products that we brought out a couple of years ago. It comes right from the ag side. And I had to practice this in front of the mirror because my wife thought I was straight. Bacillus amorphous liquefacius. And it actually is really good on two different regions. And the shelf life, as long as you keep it above freezing and below 100, you're good to go because it is a live bacteria.
And so really around here, you're going to be just fine.
Yeah.
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 And it's one teaspoon per gallon. I use it every time I put a plant in the ground or in a pot. It colonizes around the roots, keeps the roots from getting root rots and other diseases there, and it'll stay there for the life of the plant. And then as a leaf or foliage disease, you'll spray it on, but there's no sugars that can feed off it, like from the roots. It does a great job, and it goes away in a couple of days, being an organic product.
Yeah. I've had such great results with it, with tomatoes, transplanting tomatoes into the garden. Works on verticillium and fusarium. We've basically eradicated that out of our garden with it damaging our plants. And, mildews. We've had just amazing results on the mildews on pumpkins, squashes, melons, cucumbers. It's been awesome. So good to know that you've got a long shelf life on that, Clayton.
Yeah. And like I said, we've been working on this for a while, and this is one of my best products that we have.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay.
Any other questions, Ron?
I think that's it. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Hey, thanks for calling in this morning. You have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, see you, Ron. All right.
Okay, and that'll clear up a phone line at 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. We also have Neil, who's been holding on the line. Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks for taking my call. Earlier this week, I was doing some yard work out around a yellow delicious apple tree that we have, and I noticed that, excuse me, there's an area where we took a pretty good-sized branch off a few years ago that had rotted out and left the inside exposed. There's just a small hollow in there.
Sure.
Got a flashlight, looked around, and kind of poked in there to see what was going on. Tell me what I need to do to fix that. Is eventually the tree going to die because of that, or
probably not?
What am I looking at?
Yeah, probably not. It's not unusual for a little bit of decomposition to happen where you've taken out a branch. There may have been a little bit of damage that went a little bit deeper into the tree, but once you get into the center of the tree, there shouldn't be any problems there. Do you know how old that apple is?
I'm guessing it's probably 10, 12 years old.
Okay, so it's not a really old tree. If you wanted to, you could put a pruning sealer in there and kind of seal that up. When you have open spaces like that, a lot of insects like to hang out in there. Sometimes you'll get ants, earwigs, other insects that will kind of take advantage of the space that's there. It's a nice, comfy home for them. A little pruning sealer on that wound to try and cover that up, and the tree eventually will heal over that damage if you cut the collar right. Usually when we take a big branch off like that, we'll try and leave about a 1/4 of an inch collar, that sticks out past the trunk. If you're trimming a branch right back to the trunk, and that'll allow the tree to heal over that over time. You'll see new growth eventually grow over that fresh that cut and protect the tree a little bit. But in the meantime, we can cover that up with a little bit of pruning sealer and prevent insects and other things from getting into the tree that way.
Oh, okay.
All
And
right.
then one other quick question. Last year in our backyard, we had a terrible time with those little fire ants.
Yeah.
Should I plan on like a systematic schedule of putting out chemical to treat those this summer? Or just treat them as I see them, or how should I work that?
There's some great baits you can use that the ants will pick up and take back into the nest. There's some granules or some liquid. Bifenthrin's one of the best for ants. It's a really great product. It comes in a granule. You can just sprinkle on the ground around the mound, or even right on top of the mound, or you can mix it up in water and then water the section with it. It'll be very, very effective. So there's multiple options you've got, and if it's been a consistent problem year after year, you may want to do something a little preventatively instead of waiting for something to happen. So,
okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much for calling this morning, Neil. You have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. We'll see you.
And that frees up one phone line at 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. Now, before we get to another question that we were going to talk about onions, let's go out to Marilyn. She's been holding on the line. Marilyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I have a clematis that last year it bloomed very nicely, but it's just a massive, tangled mass of tiny, tiny limbs. How much can I prune back without taking all the blossoms gone?
Oh, that's a great question. A lot of times with the clematis, you can prune fairly aggressively and not worry about removing too many blossoms, because it's going to bloom on all that new growth that's coming off. And so make sure that your clematis definitely has some good mulch around it. Usually likes 2 or 3 inches of a deep mulch around it, so the roots stay cool and moist, but the top can be warm and dry. Good slow release fertilizer with some iron in there would be excellent to encourage some new blossoms. Magnesium sulfate to really encourage some blossoms and lower the pH would be excellent. You could trim it down to 3 feet. Just you could trim it down to 3 or 4 feet. Just take all the rest of that off, and then maybe select some really nice choice branches that look really good, and kind of thin some of the other older ones or some of those out as well too. But you can be a little bit more aggressive with it, and it'll be fine.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're so welcome, Marilyn. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right,
Bye-bye.
we'll see you. Okay. Then you said there was a caller that called in with a question.
We had a caller, wasn't able to hold on the line, but she said she'd just be listening to an answer as we were talking about onions. She said she just planted some onions yesterday. She wanted to know if it was too early to apply a pre-emergent, and also if she should already start watering it. We had some really dry weather the last couple of days.
Yeah. So I would definitely water them. So I planted peas on Thursday, and they were good yesterday, but nice warm day. Like you said, it was 70 degrees. I'm going to water them today, even if it looks like it's going to rain the first part of the week, so we'll give them a little bit of moisture. So I would definitely water those onions. Root stimulator would be great to use with that. I love the Kanga roots. That's still my favorite root stimulator to kind of get those going. And they'll handle the cold weather that we're having here in the next little bit, so that they should be fine that way. Pre-emergent, I would give them a little bit of time to get established, and then you could use Treflan on there. What do you think, Clayton? 2 weeks before you put a pre-emergent down?
Yeah, I would wait. You want to make sure the roots are established before you use the pre's, and Treflan's a great product for it, but you're right, about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But with any vegetable, just make sure they're established.
Yep, and we've got the Treflan in a liquid as well as in a granule, and very easy to use. It's safe to use on onions and a lot of other vegetables as well too, and it will just stop the seeds as they germinate from getting established, but it won't affect your existing plants. I'll be using that in the area where I have those burr buttercup in my garden that were stuck all over my shoes. So I'll be out there spraying that to try and get those under control, because it's right where my peas are, and the Treflan won't affect the peas at all. So I could actually put that down right now before the peas even germinate, and it won't bother the peas or beans, and it won't bother radishes or carrots, but it stops all those weeds from coming up. So if you want to prevent weeds in some of those vegetables, you can actually apply it, just after you've seeded, and it won't affect those at all. So
now, would a Treflan product be effective, say, for example, for folks that like myself, we have an asparagus bed?
Yeah.
That we just keep all on its own. It's all by itself. It's a raised bed.
Yeah.
And the stalks have not started coming up yet, but of course the root system is well established.
Right.
Would a Treflan be good over that?
Would be good. Clayton, you double check, but I'm pretty sure asparagus is on the label. So
it is, and as long as the plant's established, like you said, the asparagus is already there. It's not coming from seeds, coming from the roots and from the stolons and from the ground, so you're good to go.
Yeah. And I think on the asparagus, your limitation from when you apply before you start harvesting, I think it's about 2 weeks. I'll have to double check the label on that
about
one.
14 days.
Yeah. I think that's the recommendation. So great product, won't affect existing plants. It's going to kill the seeds just as they crack open and start to germinate, and the germ starts to root. It will kill that germ before it really takes off and gets going. You can use it on all kinds of ornamentals, but a lot of different edibles, and the liquid form lasts a couple 2 or 3 months, Clayton?
Up to 6 months.
Up to 6 months on the liquid. Very nice. Yeah, very nice.
Yep.
Longer than I anticipated. And the granule is usually about 4 to 6 weeks. And it seems like it doesn't last quite as long on the granule, but we have really good results with the liquid. So we got another caller, Will.
Another onion question here
good,
from Carl, who's joining us on the line from Weston. Go ahead, Carl.
Yes. Just wondering, the last few years in my garden, I plant onions the same as I always have, but when the onions finally mature, when I peel the skin off, there's actually 2 onions inside of each onion. That makes sense.
They're doing double centers. Yeah. Are you planting sets, or are you doing seeds, or are you doing plants?
I usually plant sets.
The sets have been stopped partway through their growth, and so there's there's really no easier way to plant the onions than with the sets, because like I tell people, you can put them in your sack, and when you go out into the garden and you're trying to pull your sack open and it rips and the onions fall all over the ground, you can basically just like kick dirt on top of them and they'll just take off and grow onions that way. But they've been started from seed, and then they've been stopped partway through that growth process so you can get those little dry sets. And then when you replant them, they take off like crazy and you get nice onions in a short amount of time. It's very simple, but you're more inclined to get split centers because their growth has been stopped halfway through the process. And so that's not unusual for them to have double centers on a set onion set. If you were to switch to the onion plants, say plant Walla Walla or Big Daddy or Dulce Grande or Copra that we get in plants, you will have less than 1% that will do that.
Okay, yeah, I've got the Dulce Grande, before too, and they've done well.
Yep,
it's
they
just
do.
The Spanish onions.
Yep, it's the yellow Spanish and the white Spanish that you get in sets, and it all has to do with how their growth has been halted partway through that growing process, and then you're just more likely to get those split centers.
Okay, they fooled them when they were young, and now they're fooling us when they get older.
Exactly. So, okay. All right. And last year the weather was really hot, so the onions matured early, so they were dying down the 1st of August instead of the latter part of August, and this didn't seem to store quite as well as usual. So hopefully we'll have a little bit better conditions for growing this summer. So.
Okay. Well, great. Thanks for your help.
Thanks for calling, Carl. Have a great weekend.
You bet.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll see you.
We've got about 4 minutes left, and we hadn't talked at all about some of the products that Monterey offers when it comes to lawn care, and that's something that a lot of us are going to be doing this weekend.
And fire blight too.
Yeah,
fire blight's one that where the trees are starting to bloom, that would probably be a really good one to cover as well too. Garden Foss and any other products that you've got, Clayton, that would be perfect for fire blight, because we had problems with it the last couple of years.
Yeah, so you can actually use if you want to go organic, the complete disease control as well.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's just 1 teaspoon per gallon, but you have to do it more often because, of course, UV, the ultraviolet rips apart the organic molecules. So about every couple of weeks. With Garden Foss, a little bit, every 2, 3, or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But it's a great product. Both of those are great. Liquid cop you can also use every 7 days or whatnot during the blooming season at 10% bloom.
Yep, so the copper would be great. Didn't realize the complete disease control would work on the fire blight bacteria as well too. So that's great to know. And with the Garden Foss, if you're spraying it on, I think you're right. 3 to 4 weeks, we'll get that much of a control out of it. If we're doing the basil bark treatment, which we have done with a lot of customers, where you can just treat the trunk of the tree, it's going to last up to 3 months that way inside the tree. And we've had amazing results with the Garden Foss controlling fire blight even after the trees have been infected, but preventatively as well too. So such a great product.
Yeah, and good news, bad news about fire blight. Good news is, it only affects the rose family. Bad news, the rose family is really big.
Yeah, so apples, pears, crab apples, flowering pear, pyracantha, mountain ash, roses, cotoneasters. Yeah, we see them in cotoneasters as well too. So Garden Foss, it's one of the best preventatives that you can use by doing that trunk treatment. But we're going to see that bacteria spreading a lot while the trees are in bloom, and so you can do a preventative application while they're in bloom as well too. So.
Yeah.
It'll work out great.
Absolutely.
Clayton, thank you so much for calling in and being part of the show today. It's always wonderful to have you on the show, and a lot of amazing products that we provide to our customers through Monterey and Bicor locally. So our hanging basket formula has Pro Bloom and the all-purpose fertilizers in there, and it's essential for us to keep our flowers looking good in front of the store and on Main Street as well too. So y'all been great to provide us some great products to keep the downtown looking amazing here in Logan.
Yeah, and thank you for having me. And I'll be back up there shortly in a couple months. And I love visiting Utah, and it's just such a beautiful place.
Yep. Thanks so much, Clayton. And you have a great weekend as well, too. So for our listeners, don't forget, we've got bare root sale going on at Anderson Seed and Garden. A lot of things happening out in the nursery. So we've got flowering trees, we've got shade trees, we've got shrubs in. Fruit trees, still bare root, are available, and we've got some containered ones starting to arrive as well, too. And the small fruits. So raspberries, I got some Joan J. raspberries in this week. We got strawberries, and I got more strawberries coming next week. Asparagus, potatoes, onion plants, currants, grapes, blueberries, everything. So
really. I mean, there's only a few things you may want to hold off on.
Yep. And like you were mentioning, Will, great time to get a little fertilizer on the lawn. Fertilizer, pre-emergent. If you're going to plant grass seed, don't put your pre-emergent on, though. So who was it this morning? It was Richard that said he'd put his pre-emergent on, but he needed to reseed some grass. That just kind of slows things down where you can't get that to go. So great time to fertilize before the snow. I was going to say before winter sets in.
Well, we'll have a little bit of that maybe Monday, Tuesday, but shouldn't last long.
And my lawn's perking up. It's about ready to be mowed for the first time. So I did some humate and a little fertilizer about 2 weeks ago. It's looking really good. Yeah, it's looking really good. So great time of year to be outside. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week with another edition of The Garden Guide.
Breaking news. Stimulating talk.
Here's what we do. The biggest problem we have is ignorance.
KVNU Logan, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.